at night. He learns how to steal and he learns how to fight in the ghetto. Then buys a gun, he steals a car, he tries to run but he don't get far in the ghetto. In the ghetto. And his mama cried. Mama cries, yeah. Ooh, oh. Crowd gathers round an angry young man face down on the street with a gun in his hand in the ghetto. As her young man died on a cold and gray Chicago morn, another little baby child is born in the ghetto. In the ghetto. Oh, in the ghetto. Yeah, yeah, baby. That's how it is. That's how it is in the ghetto. Yeah. Ooh, ooh, yeah. On a cold and gray Chicago morn, a poor little baby child is born in the ghetto. Cause if there's one thing that she don't need, it's another hungry mouth to feed in the ghetto. And the world turns, and a hungry little boy with a runny nose plays in the street as the cold wind blows in the ghetto. People, don't you understand? The child needs a helping hand, or he'll grow to be an angry young man someday. Take a look at you and me. Are we too blind to see? Do we simply turn our heads and look the other way? Well, the world turns. A hungry little boy with a runny nose plays in the street as the cold wind blows in the ghetto. And his hunger burns. He starts to roam the streets at night. He learns how to steal and he learns how to fight in the ghetto. Then one night in desperation, the young man breaks away. Buys a gun, he steals a car, he tries to run but he don't get far in the ghetto. In the ghetto. Mother cried. Crowd gathers round an angry young man face down on the street with a gun in his hand in the ghetto. As her young man died on a cold and gray Chicago morn, another little baby child is born in the ghetto. Ghetto. Oh, oh, oh. Yeah, yeah, baby. That's how it is. That's how it is in the ghetto. Yeah. Ooh, 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 ghetto. 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 Cold and gray Chicago, one thing that she don't need, it's another hungry mouth to feed in the ghetto. And the world turns, and a hungry little boy with a runny nose the cold wind blows in the ghetto. People, don't you understand that y'all need a helping hand, or we'll grow to be an angry young man someday. Take a look at you and me. Are we too blind to see? Do we simply turn our heads and look the other way? Well, the world turns. A hungry little boy with a runny nose plays in the street as the cold wind blows in the ghetto. And his hunger burns. He starts to roam the streets at night. He learns how to steal and he learns how to fight in the ghetto.
Yesterday, of course, a pleasant good night to all and sundry. Yes, of course, we are a bit tardy tonight, but due to circumstances beyond our control, as you know, we are moving to our new facility on John Street. And boy, oh boy, some heavy items such as filing cabinets and tables and so on that had to be, of course, transported, or should I say, toted, carried through narrow stairwells. Of course, from the fourth floor of the building that we were in. So we just completed, we just got across here, and of course, as you know, I do not have any monitoring mechanism to know whether or not the life is close to perfect, but nonetheless, I am committed. We only have one tower across here and one tower across here, so maybe by Saturday, we should be almost perfect. But with all of the inconvenience and all of the inadequacies, we have to, of course, continue to do what we have to do. So yes, tonight, what is happening in the ghetto, and of course, we will take a look at Gary Griffith and what he had to say as well. But tomorrow, we'll do a little more elaborate because of the time that we have started tonight.
With proper leadership, you will have follow. Well, the main solution in solving crime is that you must have proper leadership in the police service, and with proper leadership, you will have followers. The police officers right now are demotivated. To start with, without security in a country, there will be no investment. And in order to have proper security, you must pay the people well. Look, 4% on somebody's salary for 3 years. That's just about $100. When you look at gas price, you look at food price, you look at school books, you look at all these things, police officers have been treated very, very, very unfairly in this country. And they do the bulk of work because sometimes, as a police officer, sometimes you're a mechanic, somebody shut down the road, they're looking for you because they believe you're supposed to know everything to help them. Somebody dead in a drain, you have to help them lift them up. Somebody drunk, they want to perform CPR. Is everything a police officer is supposed to do. Now, in addition to that, when I was in charge of Central Division, I saw the helicopter landing all in the back of Kearney Station and picking up dog and handler to meet me on crime scene all over Trinidad. And even the pilots, some of them are foreigners and they love it because they realize that we're getting things done and we had crime under control. You could have sleep in the house open under my watch in Central Division. You know?
So given your past experience with crime and crime solutions, the opposition leader has extended an invitation for you to be a part of future crime talks. Is this an invitation you're willing to accept? And how effective do you think these crime talks will be?
The crime talks will be effective if and when this government change And based on the outcome of these meetings with the opposition leader, if she's willing to go forward with putting things in perspective as we clamored for and what she's hoping to achieve, I think everything will go good for this country.
And you're willing to accept an invitation to join the head?
Willing. I'll be there. Yeah. All right.
A lot of ideas came forward. The task will be to compile all of these together and use it in a way, because from everyone there you could see it is horrendous. The country is beleaguered, the country is scared, and we really need to work together. So as a first initiative, I think it went very, very well.
Thank you so much.
I would like to thank all those who contributed, all those who came out. It went really well. Thank you.
The first anti-crime talks, you'd have seen it for yourself. It was very positive. There was absolutely nothing that I could say that something that we should have done or we missed out. The number of persons that came forward, and you could see the hurt, you could see the concerns, you could see the people willing to make recommendations. They want to work together. It seems that the whole country wants to mobilize. It's about good versus evil. So it seems that everyone wants to work to make this happen, except for Keith Rowley. He seems to be the only person that is not interested. He has no care or concern. I keep saying you cannot want to rule or lead a country if you look like you hate half of a country. There was absolutely nothing that prevented this from happening. Thankfully, the leader of the opposition has become proactive and not waiting for Keith Rowley. I always say that if you want to be involved in politics, you have to lead, follow, or get out of the way. And what Keith Rowley has done is showed total disregard, disrespect to the citizens of this great country. What we are doing here is packaging a foundation to ensure that we can have proper anti-crime initiatives to peg back the criminal elements. And it can work. It happened coming down to the end of the People's Partnership, where it was the highest reduction in serious crime in 31 years. In my last year as commissioner, it was the highest reduction in violent crime in 17 years. So it can very well work. Again, the importance of this is not just for us to give crime plans, but to speak to the public, hear their concerns, hear their ideas, for us to formulate a proper package. So when we are in that position to make the decisions, to implement the policies, we will be able to hit the ground running.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Take one of the solutions or some of the solutions.
Well, the main solution in solving crime is that you must have proper leadership in the police service, and with proper leadership, you will have followers. The police officers right now are demotivated. To start with, without security in a country, there will be no investment. And in order to have proper security, you must pay the people well. Look, 4% on somebody's salary for 3 years. That's just about $100. When you look at gas price, you look at food price, you look at school books, you look at all these things, police officers are being treated very, very, very unfairly in this country. And they do the bulk of work, because sometimes as a police officer, sometimes you're a mechanic, somebody shut down on the road, they're looking for you because they believe you're supposed to know everything to help them. Somebody dead in a drain, you have to help them lift them up. Somebody drunk, they want to perform CPR. It's everything a police officer is supposed to do. Now, in addition to that, when I was in charge of Central Division, I saw the helicopter landing all in the back of Kearney Station and picking up dog and handler to meet me on crime scene all over Trinidad. And even the pilots, some of them are foreigners, and they love it because they realize that we're getting things done and we had crime under control. You could have sleep in the house open on.
With crime and crime solutions, the opposition leader has extended an invitation for you to be a part of future crime talks. Is this an invitation you're willing to accept? And how effective do you think these crime talks will be?
The crime talks will be effective if and when this government change, and based on the outcome of these meetings with the opposition leader, if she's willing to go forward with putting things in perspective as we clamored for and what she's hoping to achieve, I think everything will go good for this country.
And you're willing to accept an invitation to join the head?
Willing. I'll be there. Yeah. All right.
A lot of ideas.
Solutions or some of the solutions.
Well, the main solution in solving crime is that you must have proper leadership in the police service, and with proper leadership, you will have followers. The police officers right now are demotivated. To start with, without security in a country, there will be no investment. And in order to have proper security, you must pay the people well. Look, 4% on somebody's salary for 3 years. That's just about $100. When you look at gas price, you look at food price, you look at school books, you look at all these things, police officers are being treated very, very, very unfairly in this country. And they do the bulk of work because sometimes, as a police officer, sometimes there's a mechanic, somebody shut down on the road, they're looking for you because they believe you're supposed to know everything to help them. Somebody dead in a drain, you have to help them lift them up. Somebody drunk, they want
Yesterday, of course, a pleasant good night once again to all on Sundry, East, West, South, South, Central, our friends in Tobago, and wherever you are, streaming on the World Wide Web. I trust that YouTube is working tonight because we did some work on it. But as I said, one tower is working, and of course, we are in the process of moving. So by I say Saturday night, we should be in a good state. I know that people have been complaining about the quality, but we have no monitoring ability at night. But of course, so our original office is now, of course, a sort of improvised or temporary, or should I say a transient office. And thus, of course, we are unable to beam as we would like. But of course, the show has to go on. The work has to be done. Let me say once again that I'm very elated, very pleased, very, of course, confident that on the 18th of next month, all will be gathering at, of course, the Barlara Promenade opposite the Express to take our letters to the two institutions that we have identified, the the Ministry of Finance, and therefore the Minister of Finance, sometime acting Prime Minister, and then, of course, we go to the DPP because we believe that there are too many outstanding matters, whether it be, of course, the fake oil matter, whether it be, of course, the Police Service Commission intervention by Dr. Rowley and therefore the Prime Minister, whether it be, of course, the Vincent Nelson matter, and most importantly, the tragic death of those 4 divers in that very, what I consider a horrendous circumstance, consequential of being trapped in, of all places, a pipe, oil pipe. I think that is the most tragic and the most arduous, if you want to call it that, or the most gruesome death that anybody could, of course, be subjected to, quite apart from fire and so on. But I think that takes the cake because it's 4 of them and not just one in that particular case. So I want to tell you that we are, of course, I'm not going to pull punches. Of course, it's now what 2 minutes to 9 o'clock, but you can make your calls now. We'll make an exception tonight, having regard, of course, to the tardiness of tonight's exercise. But what I want to point out is that the naysayers and those who are conveniently interpreting, of course, what Gary Griffith has to say as something that suggests that there is a fragmentation, that there is a disagreement, etc. Well, of course, I was also, and it contributed, of course, to my tardy start, my late start, when I was putting, of course, the video together. But, of course, I realized that I have some other things to add to it. That is to say, the difference between his interview on Mikey's program as opposed to what he said more recently. And to me, it suggests a consistency, and that is that he recognizes that no party could, outside of the UNC, let me repeat, he recognizes that no party outside of the UNC, including any third party, could defeat the PNM in an election. And indeed, no third party could defeat the UNC either. And of course, he made the point about that with respect, of course, to the most formidable baby in recent memory, and that is the efforts of the NAR and the efforts, of course, of the COP. Both of them floundered, but of course, 2 parties prevailed. It says that the better one ends up in opposition, and the worst of them all ends up in government. And that is a tragedy for Trinidad and Tobago. And we must realize that. So once again, my interpretation of Gary Griffith's statement as expressed as a form of concern by persons who may be wishing well and who may have good intention. But the fact that you have gleaned from those overtures and those statements negativity tells me that the analytical ability of those who are prepared, of course, to sway public opinion, because when you get on a program like this, and when you get on the ground report, and when you get on the Observer, etc., and when you get on Alan Roberts or any other program that allows you to, of course, express yourself, and you do so willy-nilly, helter-skelter, and, of course, to some extent, recklessly, without the proper analysis, you are merely being preemptive, and you are attempting to throw at least a leg of the fly in the ointment. Because Gary Griffith has made it very clear, central to all what he's saying is that there must be unity of the opposition. And that history has shown that a disunited opposition, including with a third party that may emerge, that may have some relevance, some significance and impact on the ensuing or the election that is about to take place, that it could prove to be extremely deadly. And of course, the COP in 2007 was a classic example. And I can tell you, because I was, of course, a candidate in that particular election for the Laventille East Mova seat, and Julia Davy was my other candidate in Laventille West. Yes, Juliet Davy was the other candidate coming up against the PNM. Understand, just as Rowley, I consider them to be fake advocates for a criminal enterprise that the PNM has morphed into. Let me repeat. I say that my friend Julia Davy and, of course, just as Dr. Rowley, they are fake advocates for the PNM because they have demonstrated an inconsistency. Not like me, an inconsistency in terms of their consistency claiming to be PNM and advocating therefore or thereabout. No. I want to make it clear. She was a member of and one of the founding people of the Love Laventille Outreach for Vertical Enrichment, dedicated to Laventille, because we saw what the PNM was doing to Laventille. It couldn't be the UNC. And we were saying that if we were successful, the UNC as well will have to take note and then therefore, of course, recognize Laventille for special consideration as advocated by us, if we were successful. But the point I am making is that you cannot play and games us as if you are this solid and consistent and you have a track record of being a PNM, just as Rowley. Rowley doesn't have a track record of being a consistent PNM. He was, of course, an NJAC in 1970. Rowley was an NJAC in 1970, people, and therefore diametrically opposed to Eric Williams, who was the Prime Minister at the time and the founding father of the PNM. Understand that? And was actively involved in the NJAC in terms of opposing the PNM based on ideology, philosophy, policies, and programs. And here it is today, as the typical, now we know, opportunist that he is, a total political parasite and political kobo, and a political criminal, murderer, deceiver, and all of the base qualities that you can find in a human being, as he attempted, of course, and achieved through undermining, deception, and injudicious, as well as I wouldn't say ill-fated, but certainly insincere negotiations and position taking, as we saw when he dealt with Manning, a dangerous blow, and when he dealt us an even more dangerous blow, because we are suffering from the repercussions even today, when he told us that he will not interfere with property tax. It was a dastard tax. It was a dangerous tax. It was one that his constituents couldn't afford $100 at a time when of course, in 2008, when it was presented by the then Patrick Manning administration, when the country made the most amount of money and we were swimming in what is considered to be petrodollars. He said that today, coming out of a COVID, the floundering of the economy and the literal collapse almost of our currency and the availability of foreign exchange, the lack of jobs, high inflation and or prices across the board, a higher cost of living, and a lower quality of life across the board, except for his 1%ers who he continues. And I want to say this. I'm seeing at least 3 developments taking place that I will bring to your attention in due course. You see, it is clear that Rowley and they are getting more and more desperate, and therefore they are exposing themselves more and more to blue lights and silver bracelets, acting inimical to the interests of the people. But they want clearly to finish Balize House as a symbol, and I can predict now, and I can prophesy now, that it will be a symbol of what not to be supporting, and what not or must not be. I'm talking here about profligacy. I'm talking about theft. I'm talking about misbehavior in public office. I'm talking about acting against the interests of the public, against the public's interests. I'm talking about, yes, larceny, yes, and of course, acting contrary to the criminal law as it pertains to corruption under the relevant laws, and in particular, the Integrity in Public Life Act. Yes, that is what that must symbolize. You cannot tell me that you were broken when you came in 2015 as a party. Not just broken, but you were bankrupt. You were owing $4 million. And you suddenly get a windfall. What? They find oil below the piece of real estate that Balize House now occupies? Is that what he said? They dig and they find diamonds, and suddenly they could build something for $100 million. It seems as though there's a fixation with $100 million. They find $100 million for the oil spill. They find $100 million, of course, to deal with the crime situation that they have created. And even that will not solve the problem. We know that. And even, of course, the $100 million, as far as the oil spill is concerned, will not take away a little more than the speculation that somehow, and we will find out that PNM operatives are involved. And the first salvo of that indication was made by, of course, the Chief Secretary of the THA. I'm talking about Farley. when he said that he got, of course, a what? A WhatsApp indicating that somebody who is associated with the purchase of the oil refinery, the badge belonged to. Yes. The badge, the creed, the tug is called the creed, and the badge is called the Gulf Stream. And names have been changed. Of course, as I said, we will go deeper into all of that because we don't want to, of course, to be sidelined or in any way distracted by some salary nonsense that they will never agree to, and they will try, of course, to extract as much political currency. They will, of course, produce as much, as far as they can, political oxygen to try to further their political nest, and we must be conscious. So I want to tell you in uncertain terms that both Rowley and, of course, they're very, what I consider to be venomous in terms of language, just as Rowley, and choice of words, and their vocabulary as far as base and unfriendly and deadly and wicked and nasty and barbaric and ugly. Both of them ugly inside and outside. They are no true member. Rowley in particular is simply an opportunist, got an opportunity in the right place at the right time for himself. A total narcissist and a dictator, as well as, of course, a one that can only be described as self-serving, and therefore that level of hubris, that level of self-conceitedness must be recognized as we move forward, and he is prepared to put his personal interests and what is left of that so-called party called the PNM, a criminal enterprise, in the forefront in order to protect having done us evil, having done us wickedness, having of course committed multiple criminal acts, whites in office, blatant as they are, and of course a treasure trove for even a rookie investigator coming out of the police academy could easily bring the entire cabinet, bring the entire cabinet to justice by way of charges of misbehavior, corruption, nepotism. And I'm sure if the investigation that will certainly ensue dig deeper, they will find money laundering and inexplicable wealth for which they must explain. Let's go straight, of course, to the lines. As I promised, we go to the lines. A pleasant good night. Pleasant good night, welcome. Pleasant good night, welcome. Welcome. Let me see, I'm not getting it.
Yes, hello, good night, Lennox Smith.
Good night to you, good night to you. Are you hearing me well?
Well, I listen, yes, very
Okay,
well.
good.
I listen to you on not YouTube, but Facebook. The YouTube not up, but we will have to just go with the Facebook.
All right, okay.
So, what I want to say is, the owner of the vessel that was carrying the fuel, right? Name is Rogelio Manuel. And it had this broker, they didn't say where, whose name is Rafik something. I can't remember the name, the surname of this broker company.
All right.
But what I want to say is, That vessel is a small vessel compared to the bacchanal Rowley making with his gangman friend and Iran. If you listen to Gary Abu, put the pieces together, okay, and you will
Yes.
get to understand. You see, people ain't getting to the depths of Gary Abu, right? He's telling you something, but we ain't catching it. And then it will have myself saying something, but they ain't catching. This morning I listened to the ground report and I heard Malcolm X saying that certain people have to get together and we could put heads together. Well, I know if you're listening to this program, I out because I fed up, right? So I am business, that everything sink because it's long time I talking that and his friend, right, whose name is Ulrich, talk with all of that and it ain't happening. So I don't know if Malcolm X can catch up with what's going on, right? The kind of names he calling, people not on that. Them on a different scene. So I know that long time is time he understand that. Everything had to be just as how it is. If people listening to Mr. Abu talk, they're listening to this other man talk, Annie Roberts, myself, and a few others who talking like Skippy Barrington, and they don't want to sit down with one another and talk, nothing will work out. We will just talk about it for a while and it will slip away. And that's what Rowley want because these things don't belong to Rowley. This thing that was coming, it's nothing with the government. It's not government to government transaction. These fellas dealing big time, right? Real big time. You wouldn't even dream to what it is going on with these three countries with the fuel coming out of Venezuela. And other people who are oligarchs, they do the selling of the thing on the high seas, which is the Atlantic Ocean, vessel transfueling, transporting things into other vessels. This just happened so that we could get an idea, right? God work in mysterious ways, and the people of Trinidad and Tobago are foolish. They are stupid, and it will come. It won't go anywhere. Rowley will just glad when we forget all about it, and nothing. What they are doing, nothing will come out of it. Nobody will find them out. So he happy like Pappy with that. He throwing some money to the Tobagonians. They're suffering now. I hear that they're inhaling this fume. That's really bad. It's on the shoreline and it's going to be there for a long time. It's a small island. It's on one side. We know how Tobago shape. So they will suffer with those fumes for quite some time. And I believe it's harder to deal with that than dealing with it getting out of the ocean there. So they just had to go through that. I remember one time, couple months ago, well, I talked with a Tobagonia and I asked that person, how you all feel that you don't have vessels guarding your country? They said they don't need that. We don't need that. You understand? I say that your country should have at least 6 vessels, patrolling while 2 or 3 down or, not working, it have 3 working on a daily basis and you're going a rotating way. They say, no, we don't need that. We small, we don't need that. And this is how these people are. So I don't want nobody to apologize to me when I make statements, right? They were settled for the money Rowley giving them, and they're cool with that. We ain't hear no protest from them, nothing. 1 or 2 people calling the ground report from Tobago to say something is not all of Tobago. It's just them. So they just had to take what they get. And we just had to drink water and mind we business. Right? I look
I
at
hear
it
you.
that way.
All right.
So who live, and who dead.
I hear you, my friend. I hear you, my friend. I hear you. All right. Well, of course, well, as usual, that is an opinion. I am of a contrary opinion. I think we have to continue to be tenacious. Evil cannot prevail over good. And if we believe in the Bible, the Quran, or the Gita, then of course that brings solace. It brings motivation. It brings an ideological as well as a practical disposition that when the people engage in exploitative behavior, especially when they are given, of course, the authority so to do in the context of democracy as ours and an elections, we cannot afford to relent. There are those who are going to tire, maybe sometimes nearing the poll, nearing the winning poll, but we have to carry it, the rest of us have to carry it for them and to take on their burden of surrender. A pleasant good night. Welcome.
Good night, Mr. Lennox. Good night, good night. And good night to
you.
everybody on the live. Mr. Freeport here, boy.
Yes.
Mr.
I recognize
River,
the voice.
a special good night to you.
Thank you.
Lennox, I sent a video for you. You see it?
Not yet, but
You
I
see
am
the
aware
video I
that
sent
it
for you,
was sent.
Lennox?
Not yet, but I'm aware that it was sent, but today was a busy day moving now. We had some heavy stuff to move today, so I will get along to it before the night finishes. I'll get around to it before the night finish.
Hear what happening?
Uh-huh.
That is a single parent. That is a single parent. That child father passed away. And this lady trying to get that special wheelchair. Since Ramona run the old days, boy.
Okay.
And you know what that nasty woman say? Parliament say too costly to buy that wheelchair.
Wow.
And right now she having another problem. The street light in front of the house not lighting. As I tell you, the child father passed away, the girl father passed away, and there's 3 ladies in a house, 3, 4 ladies in a house. The fence not so wholesome. And they went to Ravi Ratiram and the councillor for that area to assist them in getting that street light fixed. No help. No help. So Lennox, I tell Anne-Marie to tell you to see if you know anybody that you could try and assist these people and them in getting that street light fixed.
All right.
I trying to see whatever help I could get on the outside, but the street light is important for them. Yes. And I want Keith Rowley and Stuart Young to tell the country, because they know everything about that barge and that tug, what that barge and tug was doing in Vista port on the 3rd of February, and on the 6th of February, it reached in Tobago. And they say going to Guyana. From my experience and my understanding, Guyana is on the south of Trinidad. Is that true?
Yes. Yes. The south. Yes. Generally, yes. South.
Right.
South,
so
southeast. Yeah.
If the boat was going, if that tug and that barge going to Guyana, what it doing on the north side of Trinidad? Anybody could answer? I wonder. But everything they know, it coming from here and it going there and it going Guyana. If it went Guyana, Guyana has storage to take whatever fuel they had in that barge. So, these people trying to tie up everybody for they feel we is market crab. Well, we
Guyana,
are no market crab.
Guyana said it on certain terms they know anything about it anyway. So,
right.
Yeah, they
it's
said
only Stuart Young, and Rowley know everything about that badge, but they didn't know on the 3rd of February it was in Vista port.
Yeah, and they tried, of course, they tried to mislead us by saying it came from Margarita somewhere there. They always pour Margarita. The fuel from Paria that left Trinidad, it was Margarita as well. That's far as they know, but it ended up in, of course, Venezuela. After Delcy Rodriguez was here the day before and came here in spite of the sanctions and the closure of the borders, both in the air and on sea.
Yes. So, we have to let these PNM supporters know they're following two blind people. They would fall down the cliff just now, and so the supporters was go down the cliff also. So, and we have to get some of the UNC supporters, some of the UNC MPs and them to put the act together, because they look like they like to stay in opposition, collect the money, they're expecting a raise, and they don't have to do anything. You want the people vote. When the people vote you in, you don't want to work for them. And people that say that I'm making mischief, and they say, what? Don't wash your linen in the public. But last night they was washing their linen in the public. I didn't want to call in last night, otherwise I might have cussed on the station, boy. All some of the callers want to do, bash some of the regular follower of the ground report and corridor transformation and Mikey. They want to be number one. Well, you don't be number one by bashing people. You just be number one by working hard. I'll give and Miss Anne-Marie some information. I'll tell you what to do and ask you to help.
Yes.
To those few people that all you want to help.
I certainly will.
The people and them willing to help, but you have to go through a channel.
Okay, no problem. So we will look at I will look
you
at
take
the
care
lights.
Have a nice day.
Yes, same for you. I will look at the lights, and of course I want to say as well that, it appears that the more this government puts us or try to project an optimistic, progressive, dynamic, industrious, hard-working image, it's more the experience is of the contrary, because Chin.
And the next thing, Lennox.
Sorry about that.
Still hearing me, Lennox.
Yes, go ahead. Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
Up to 2015, we used to see sign on the road, hump ahead, slow at major road, zebra crossing, and plus we have a traffic light. Now all you're seeing is caution tape, pothole, brakeland, and beware of the bandit. So now, everything going wrong. Everything going on, and I want Rohan Sinha to know that the white line on the roads and the highways is important. I see they patching the highway from Shogunas going down to Freeport that way. Patch on the highway. You don't patch highway, either you pave the whole highway or you don't do it at all, because when you put patch on the highway, you're making rough spot on the highway. You ride up the patch, you drop down the normal highway. All they have to do is to mill the damn highway and pave the thing. All that money they get thief in. Pave the thing properly. When you watch the highway, you make me feel that when we was in the cane field and we closed tear up, we put a patch. We closed tear up, we put a patch. You don't put patch on highway. And to fix all them potholes, I drop in a hole and I bend my rim. So,
Yes. All right, thank you. And I want to add, of course, to that, what I consider to be acute deficiency in foresight delivery, contrary to their verbalization, because you could hear them. You heard, of course, the Minister of tourism, talking about $600 million was, of course, spent on and gained because of the multiple thousands of persons that came. And only because they are in control of the information, why we could be, should I say, disrespected with that kind of hogwash, because there is no reflection of that in terms of people's personal experience, even though you may be experiencing a microcosm of what he is speaking or what may be in the national context, because you can't be everywhere at the same time. We are not ubiquitous. But what we know, our common sense will tell us, for example, when they were saying that only 14,000 Venezuelans were here, and we were saying it's more like 40 to 60,000. And why we can say that? Because when you walk on the streets of Port of Spain, Chaguanas, Arimat, and Point Fortin, the frequency with which you are seeing these people, and you know them by their color of skin, their texture of hair, and their language and their expressions. So we know. And it's only the government who was only 14, until, of course, the United Nations had to tell them, and a particular, should I say, media agency in England, I think it's BBC, yes, the BBC, said otherwise. And Rowley was incensed to know that he's right here and them no more than he. And after that, he claimed that he was going to protest. No protest came, just as how he said he's going to protest, and he's going to take, of course, young Thomas to court when he called him a raper man on a UNC platform for the local government election, not the one gone, but the one before. And afterwards, nothing of it, because the truth always prevails. The truth always prevails, just as how good always overcome evil. Evil could never prevail, people. Let's go to the lines. A pleasant good night, welcome. Pleasant good night, welcome.
Lennox. Yeah, good night, Lennox.
Good night
There's
to
a
you.
long delay in the phone again.
Yes,
Can you
yes.
hear me?
I'm hearing you loud
All
and
right, I
clear.
wouldn't. All right, thank you so much for taking my call.
Yes.
Good night, and I hope it's a good night for all of us. You know, when you have a party, you want to lead, you want to lead people. And you want to just not lead your party, you want to lead the whole country with your policies. This guy Millet from Argentina, he said, the young guy, not married, he has this real